Hey Kaiki, Richard Metzelfantala. Bring you guys a brand new, well, old school album review. And I'm decided to review this album, and I'm actually going to see a live stream of this album being played live next Wednesday. And it's the debut album from one of the best Finnish metal bands of all time, or one of my personal favorite bands. And as you can see below the title, today we're going to be looking into Winterborn by Wolfheart, the band's debut album released on October of 2013 through Spine Farm Records. Now, let's just dive into a little bit of Wolfheart. They're a melodic death metal band hailing all the way from Finland, or Lahti, Finland, to be more specific. They've been around since 2013, and around that time they got signed and released their debut album Winterborn. But one thing we should really talk about is a man by the name of Thomas Saukonen. I probably butchered his name, but he is the brains and the mastermind behind Wolfheart. And before this album, he was in a bunch of other bands, being Before the Dawn, The Final Harvest, Black Sun Aeon, Dawn of Solace, and other stuff. But then it was around the beginning of 2013 that he had pretty much disbanded all those bands, and then decided to concentrate on his new band Wolfheart, which I heard was initially going to be a solo project, but it wasn't until about a year after this they actually was involved into a full band. In fact, I heard this was pretty much intended to be a solo kind of like project and album for Thomas. And it was around that time he had and on this album it's all him. He pretty much does all the vocals, all the guitars, bass and drums, everything. It just shows like that how talented he does, especially with the riffs that he comes up with, and his sick vocals, and just the bass. And he's a pretty hell of a drummer. I'm kind of impressed. I mean, I've discovered Wolfheart pretty much about 3 years ago, and it's saying, like, I didn't even know it. I thought it was just a band. I had no idea this was initially was his kind of like solo album, but of course he would then, especially with live shows, he would get like a full band, and he does have like other musicians on later albums after this. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is The Hunt. Now, it just opens up the album starts off really just calm and soothing with sort of like a good acoustic guitar, and then it just leads right into just some great guitars and just pounding drumming and just saying growling vocals from Thomas. I think it's a great way to start this album. Just start off gently and just boom, hit you right in the face. Great way to start off the album. Then it goes into the next song being called Strength and Valor. Has some really crunching sounding guitars, just some thundering drums, and just the vocals that just growls along. It just makes you has a very epic kind of like feel to it. And then we go into Rauta Part 2. And I think there's a part, think there is a part 1. I'm not entirely sure. I think they've released like a demo or something. If I have it wrong, I haven't really looked it up, but yeah, if anybody can comment below, just let me know. Anyway, Rata Part 2 begins with some really great like violins and some really, I just love like the symphonic and sort of like orchestration kind of like that they add to it. I really would love to see like Wolfheart play with like an orchestra, kind of like similar to like Metallica did with S&M. I think that would be fucking epic. And then it just kicks off with just some machine gun, just insane double bass drumming and just some great guitars. And then I just love like the melody right there, and just the lead guitars is awesome. It just brings it all just right then and there. Great song. And then we move on to Gale of Winter. Now, this song definitely feels like just similar to just like Cold in Winter, like similar to like one of my other favorite metal bands, Winter Sun, that has that kind of like wintry feel. But I feel like Wolfheart does it great with this song. Gale of Winter has like that snow kind of like vibe to it, especially in like the Finnish landscape where they're from. And it's just I just feel like if like Wolfheart could like write like a symphonic heavy metal anthem, I feel like this could be one of them. Great song. And then we move on to the next song on the album, which is called Whiteout. Now it just similar to like Gale of Winter. It's also Whiteout also has kind of like a winter theme to it. It's just very catchy riffing and just some really great growling vocals, and it just adds to like the beauty. Is just like some great lead guitars that just take you on a like an epic journey. And yeah, it's a great song. And then we move on to Ghosts of Karelia. Yeah, which opens up with just some insane drumming and just some great guitars, and just has a great energetic riffs, and just also has a little bit of kind of like a dark and ominous vibe throughout the track. Overall, very good song. And then we move on to the next song on the album, which is called I. Now, I kind of has a riff in there, which kind of sounds very sludgy like, and it also has a really great, beautiful lead guitar melody, and just some really great vocals from Thomas. Chasm. Now, I pretty much, when you first hear this song, it really just takes you just sort of like a deep, dark abyss. This has some really great violins and acoustic guitar, kind of similar to Raza Part 2. And just some, I really love like the rhythm change in there, and just some blistering guitar solo as well. Great song. And then we move on to Breathe, which kind of like starts off with sort of like a very slow kind of like tempo, and then sort of like there's some like strings in there, and just builds into like the heavier rhythm, and just some great growling vocals pretty much under like a great lead guitar melody part, which is a great song. Now right here I have is a reissue that they put out in 2014-15, and there's actually two bonus tracks I like to talk about. The first one being Isolation. Now Isolation is actually an instrumental track, has some really kind of like atmosphere parts, especially like around the keys and just like the violin and acoustic guitar. It feels like it just pretty much feels like it's just a long, lonely walk through like a snow. No, it just really just leads into the next song, being the last song on here, which is called Into the Wild, which just full of energy, just some great guitars, drums, and intense vocals. It just guides just through right through there, just insane. A great way to end the album, I should say. Now, overall, Winterborn by Wolfheart is a great debut album, a great way to start off the career for Thomas, and pretty much with him, just much where we're at right now with Wolfheart. So yeah, that's my review of the album, guys. And if anybody's gonna watch this album played live in full next Wednesday on their live stream show, just you definitely would want to watch it. I'm definitely been listening to this album. It's fucking awesome. So if I had to give this album a score, I'm gonna give Winterborn by Wolfheart a solid 10 out of 10. It's just a great debut, great strong way to kick off their career. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and as always, keep it metal. Kitos.